Kalimera, kalispera, kalinichta, no matter where in this wild, wacky, and sometimes wonderful world you might be. Thank you for making the Highbury Squad part of your day. As promised, a new series, Showbiz Squad. We love talking films, TV, music, and pop culture. So, kicking off our new series, I'm so stoked about this one, Squaddies. Let's rock and roll.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.
Welcome to our first episode of Showbiz Squad at ease, Squaddies at ease. You'll be enjoying this on pre-record, and I couldn't be happier with my first guest for this brand new series. It's my favorite new movie, and it's taking the globe by storm. Welcome to Squad Central, Stelana Kliris.
Thank you so much. Very honored to be your first guest. Thank you, Sophie.
Oh man, I tell you, there's a lot. I get excited because our culture, develops stars, but they're generally within our community and homegrown. And I think, from Baghdadis to George Michael to Nana Mouskouri to, Anna Vissi, who's crossed over a little bit too. When you want to champion people, and everyone wants to say Jennifer Aniston, but yeah, okay, she's Greek, but I'm talking about Greek.
Yeah.
And so my cousin sent me the link to the trailer about, I don't know how long ago, over a month ago. And I was like, what is this? A film set in Cyprus? This is unbelievable. Firstly, welcome. And I'm so happy you made this movie. And I want to ask why and how, to start at the very top.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Why? I mean, just to say, this started off just as a small film. We just wanted to tell a beautiful story, and it has exploded beyond our wildest dreams. So, which is mostly thanks to the audience. So, thank you so much to everybody who's been watching and sharing and supporting the film. The why is I love doing feel-good films, rom-coms. And I'm based in Cyprus. I'm originally from South Africa, but my parents are from Cyprus. I've been living here since 2010. And this is my home, and I want for there to be a thriving film industry. It's in my interest and our industry's interest. And I wanted to see if there was a way that I could bring something to the island that could travel beyond our shores. And that was kind of the thinking behind there, and it's a beautiful location. It fit the story that I had in mind, and here we are several years later on Netflix.
Yeah, I often tell the listeners that nothing is made overnight, nothing happens overnight, and a lot of people might be thinking, "Whoa, it takes years to make a film." Just curiously, when did you write the script?
I started writing in 2015, so it's been 9 years in the making. Yeah.
Wow, what a labor of love. That's incredible. And I think patience is amazing. But how did the Netflix thing come about? Was that something that did you get picked? Did you make the film? They picked it up at a festival. What was the process for the labor of love of 9 years?
Yeah. So, I mean, it was a huge gamble because Netflix came on at the very end. So we financed the film, we made it, and the idea was to sell it afterwards. And we were always aiming for a streamer because it was a romantic comedy. Last year was a really rough year in the market, or so everybody kept telling us, because of all the writer strikes and actor strikes in Hollywood. So we kept hearing stories of doom and gloom and how we wouldn't be able to sell the film. But none of that turned out to be true. We had a sales agent called The Exchange who did a private screening in LA for distributors, and one of them was Netflix. And it happened, almost immediately that they picked up the film. So, but I have to say that they very rarely acquire completed films. Usually they're on board from the beginning. So It's super rare that they will pick up something like this. So it's a huge compliment to our
That's
team.
amazing, really amazing. When you were writing the script, did you have this superstar in mind, or were you thinking about something else? How did the
Yeah.
wonderful
Okay.
Harry Connick Jr. First time I ever saw Harry Connick Jr. or became, aware of him was when I watched When Harry Met Sally and they had the
Yes,
video at the end, and I was like, "Who is this kid?
that's right.
Who can sing a tune?" How did that all come to be?
He's the best. I've been listening to him since then as well, and one of the most classic rom-coms also When Harry Met Sally.
Mhm.
So I always wanted, I knew that the only way for the film to travel was to have a big name attached. Originally, the character was a writer, he wasn't a musician.
Mm.
So I didn't really have, obviously I was trying to think of different, actors in that age range that would suit the role. But when he evolved into a musician, Harry became an obvious choice because he's not only an actor, he's actually first and foremost a musician and a singer. And we knew that the character was going to be performing on screen, so he became the perfect choice. And he ended up writing 2 songs for the film as well.
Which by the so there's so much here because
Yeah,
I loved him in this film. And what I also loved that you did was you really represented our Greek Cypriot culture beautifully from
thank you.
the dialogue. I mean, who doesn't love a yaya? The yaya character is, for anyone who listens who doesn't know what a yaya is, that's the grandmother. But sticking with Harry for just a little bit before we get to the Cypriot cast,
Yeah.
he 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 was. How did you get him to sing the song? One of my favorite scenes is the Serenade scene. I don't want to
My
ruin it for
favorite.
everybody.
Yeah. Mhm.
I love that scene. I choked up, and because
Oh,
Cyprus has so many sentimental value for me too. Growing up there, going on holiday there, my mum and dad lived there. The beginning of the year, I lost my mum, and seeing Cyprus I was seeing
oh,
Cyprus, and I was thinking it brings up all these emotions. It's such a storied island full of all of these threads and arcs. And when I'm like, how did Stelana get Harry Connick Jr. to sing that song to perfection in Greek like
yeah.
that?
I mean, it's Harry Connick Jr. Anything you give turns to gold, right? And actually, he had one session with Julia Petru, who was our singing coach. Who was she? Because by the way, Ali Fumika Whitney, who plays Melina in the
Mhm.
film, she's American. She doesn't speak Greek. She had to learn to sing 4 songs in Greek as well. So Julia worked with both of them. But we only had one session with her and Harry, and I mean, his ear, he's that good. And he had to play it down. We were like, you can't sound that good with the pronunciation. He's actually singing it with, like, he's kind of putting on a little bit of an accent and not pronouncing it exactly right, because supposedly he's just learned that song that day. So
Wow.
he can actually do it like to perfection, and he actually had to put on a little bit more of an accent so it could sound like, oh, it's someone who's just learned the language on the day. But obviously musically and the voice and the tone, I mean, it's my favorite scene as well, for good
I
reason.
I'm glad I picked that up then because
Yeah.
it was, and I can't say more.
Yeah.
I'd love to, but
No,
yeah,
not to
it's just
spoil.
yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
can I give you a nice little piece of trivia on that as well, which I think
Would
you'll
love it.
love? Is that again, not without giving anything away, but that particular song, it's really special because when Agni Scott, our other leading lady, when she got married in real life many years ago, her husband, Scott Handy, who's also an actor and used to be a pop singer, he surprised her at their wedding reception by serenading her with that exact same song. So yeah, so when she read the script, she was like, this role is for me. So
So I was going to ask you about that because I was looking at her Instagram, and when I saw
oh
that, my jaw dropped, and I was like, "No way!" It's
yeah,
such weirdness how these things happen in our
totally.
universe sometimes,
What
isn't it?
a
And
chance.
it's a very good serenade, by the way. And you guys should go check it out on. And is it Agni or Agni?
Agni.
Agni, yeah, the
Yeah.
apostrophes
I guess in
on the
English, a
I.
lot of people say agony, I suppose, but in Greek, it's
Yeah.
agony.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
You know, I was reading in Deadline, that they feel that the title song is as good as any song. I don't know if you've read this. Have you
Oh
read
yes,
this?
the Oscar comment.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
We have to get Netflix to do a For Your Consideration
I
campaign.
know, right? We would love that. I think, though, unfortunately, the film would have had to play in theaters before going on Netflix for it to be eligible.
Oh
So we
no.
might have, we may have missed the train. They're very strategic with the songs and the films that they choose to push for awards. But yeah, I've always felt from the beginning that that song could have certainly gone for a little gold statue. I don't know if there's any way around that. It's certainly something that we have discussed, but we might have missed the boat with that one.
Well,
Yeah.
other awards definitely you should go for, because it's such a great song, and it's a great
Or-
song when either one of them sing it. It just shows you how strong the song is too. So real quick before I'd like to talk about Ali, because I think it's Collider or Deadline that said that she's the breakout star, and I kind of agree with that. But the way he talks about making the film with you, the way he talks about Cyprus, it's kind of like one of those very proud, moments. He
Yeah.
genuinely seemed to have enjoyed being on the island and shooting the film with you and the Greek culture.
Yeah, he really did. It's genuinely not a PR stunt or anything. Harry, first of all, Harry's just one of the loveliest humans you will ever meet, and an absolute pro, and just so good at everything he does. But one of the ways that we sort of, when we brought him on board, I told him, we're not Hollywood, but it's a very unique experience in Cyprus. It really is like working with family. Everybody cares about what they do. It's a very intimate environment. It's very fun. It's very warm. It's very, anthrop, it's very human, as we say in Cyprus. So, and he genuinely experienced that. And he said, when he left, that it was the best production he'd ever been on, which
Wow.
is a huge compliment to us for somebody who's been in over 30, Hollywood movies. So, and I think it's just that extra spark of like this little team who cares so much and, who's passionate about what they do. So when he talks, it's really genuine. And I think he had a beautiful time there. Every single one of us loved working with him. And I think some of that comes through in the film. Like it really was like a magical little experience.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think he helped. New York Times called the film a rom-com lover's dream. And the chemistry between, him and Agni is
Yeah.
really, fantastic. And I think you cast perfectly. I love her performance, because in these kinds of movies, it's really easy to take the moments and make them hammy and a little over the
Yeah.
top. But the way you kind of delivered this understated, yet it was so real.
Thank you for that.
I loved their chemistry together.
Thank
It
you. That
was
was the aim. Thank you. And they're both so down to earth. They feel real. I feel they're very relatable, like all the people in the film.
well, I mean, let's talk about Ali a little bit as well,
Yeah.
because the scene with the Yaya, the grandmother, where she converses in Greek, where she's trying to understand a little bit about, her mom and the relationship. Uh, I knew that she wasn't Greek,
Yeah.
but at the same time, the way that she delivered and the songs as well. And like I said, a couple of the reviews call her the breakout star, and she was very impressive. Where did you find her, and how did
Oh my
that come
God.
to be?
Yeah, no, she's amazing. So she actually was brought on by, we had two really amazing US producers on this film, Keith Arnold and Steve Shapiro. And Steve had worked with her on a previous film called The Road Dance, where she had like a supporting role. And originally she was going to come in and play another part, which, not to give anything away, but it was a slightly smaller role
Mm.
of Anna. And when we found out that she was a musical theater graduate, she sent us some videos of her singing, and she just had this spectacular voice. And we kind of bumped her up to the role of Melina. And she really, she worked so hard. She had like less than 3 months to, aside from learning her part, was, learning not only Greek, but Cypriot dialect and 4 Greek songs. So
Mm.
she worked so hard and she did so well. And she just, she brought that sunshine into the role.
She did. And those scenes in the Taverna of her singing, she kind of is one of those singers that gets inside your soul.
Yeah.
And what I loved about what you did too, by the way, you guys, can you tell that I love this movie? I've said love about 2,500 times. And I'll say it more. I love the songs that you picked. Again, it could have been very easy to go down the, overly done bouzouki or zorba or some crazy Greek tunes, but you chose some beautifully classic movies. Number one, was it difficult to get the rights to that? And number two, did you always feel that, did you feel it helped set the tone as well for a lot? Yeah.
I mean, I am maybe a little bit of an old soul. I like the classics, but those are songs that I grew up with, from my own parents. They have a slightly more modern element to them. So classic songs, but they're a little bit more accessible with, the way that they're being sung and performed. And no, we actually, so those are Greek songs, which it was fairly easy to get the license. Originally, we had actually a different song for the Serenade, but there was something like 14 different airs to the song at this point that it was just impossible to get the rights. It's like dealing with property in Greece or Cyprus. So we had to let go of that. But really with this film, the saying of everything happens for a reason has been the guiding light throughout with this film. And thank goodness that happened, because then we ended up finding this traditional song, which it's in the public domain because it's an old folk song and it works so much better. So that actually ended up helping us. But otherwise, no, it was pretty smooth sailing.
I love that. And I love that version of it too. So I should have probably checked this beforehand, but are they available to download via a soundtrack? Have you guys put a soundtrack?
It hasn't gone up yet. So that's all now in Netflix's sort of realm, and Harry owns his song. So he's released the single of Find Me Falling. That's available now, on Spotify and so on. But I'm actually not aware what's going to happen with the soundtrack or when that's coming out. I've been fully on the film side. So hopefully that'll come out soon, because people have been asking.
Okay, awesome. You guys are watching Stelana Kliris, the director, writer, and producer of Find Me Falling, which has found itself at the #1 spot on Netflix. And I'm sure this number has increased since I pulled this. By the way, all of the images that you're seeing are courtesy of Netflix and from the production Find Me Falling. It's incredible what is happening to this film. Talk to me a little bit about it.
Well, I'll jump in. So Netflix releases their top 10 every Tuesday. So, I mean, as of recording, yesterday we have maintained our top spot for a second week in a row, which is
that's amazing,
unbelievable. Yeah, it's we actually had a meeting with Netflix last night. They said it's a rare thing to keep that spot. So those numbers are per week. So we're sitting at 30.4 million views, which is like per account. So that's even more people, because often it's more than one person watching an account at a time. So for us, that's huge, for this little film that came out of Cyprus. We are so grateful and so happy that people have responded so well, that they've really embraced the film. Like, this is why we make movies, and the fact that people are watching and enjoying it. Like, what more do you want?
It's so incredible. And I'm so happy for filmmakers like you, who, you've done other movies, and to kind of get this type of break at this point in your career is just so, all the love, sweat and tears that goes into being a filmmaker.
Totally.
Your family must be so proud of you. Your friends must be so proud of you, because I know Greek Cypriots are posting everywhere, and they're really proud of this film.
Yeah. No. It's been amazing. And I really do have the most amazing, like, my husband, my little daughter, my parents, everyone, family, friends. Like, my phone hasn't stopped in the last 2 weeks, and it's just trying to keep up with reciprocating with all the love. And there's actually, in terms of a little Australian story, we are everywhere, because Harry was in Australia at the beginning of the year. He sang New Year's Eve at the Sydney Opera House and so on, and he was visiting this kind of holiday town. I forget the name, but one of my cousins sort of spotted him. He was like, "Is that Harry Connick Jr.?" And he goes up to Harry and he goes, "Do you know Stelana? Because she's my first cousin, like to Harry Connick Jr." And he's like, "What is going on here?" They sort of sent me a selfie, and it just shows how widespread we are.
I love it. I love it. We
Yeah.
Greeks are everywhere. I mean, who'd have thought, your cousin would run into Harry Connick Jr. at
Right?
an
Yeah.
event in Australia? The world is really small. I love it. And part of that family vibe, you see it and you feel it. Family's so important to our culture.
Yeah.
And I love the Greek Cypriot cast, or maybe they're Greek from Greece or from South Africa or Australia. But I felt like they kind of weaved everything beautifully together, these supporting characters. I love the story of the policeman, and I think fans who haven't seen the movie will really enjoy that. Tell me about them and how are they from Cyprus? Are they
Yes.
local?
They're all local Greek Cypriot actors. Tony Dimitriou, who plays the policeman, he's born and raised in Cyprus. He's based in Greece now. He works on a lot of Greek TV series. But yeah, they're all local, which was deliberate. And again, we didn't know where the film was going to go when we shot it. But I'm so happy that they have this great exposure now. I mean, so we had Tony, who is amazing. We had Lea Maleni, who plays Kula. To perfection. Angeliki Philippou, who plays the Yaya, who has become a huge fan favorite already. And Athina Roditu, who, not to give away her character, but she plays a young girl called Anna, that was her first ever film. And she was,
wow.
And we shot her scene first. So day one, she was up there on the cliff with Harry Connick Jr. And since then, she's actually done really, really well. She's now in several series in Greece and in Cyprus. And we had a lot of other fantastic actors, Christodoulos Martas, Alexia Paraskeva, Elena Christofi. I mean, Andonis Katsari, people who, are veterans in the industry. And we had some smaller sort of speaking parts where, and I said to them, I was like, "I know that's not a very big part, but we would love to have you in the film. You'll be in a scene, with Harry, and who knows where the film will go." And I'm so grateful to them for for coming along for the ride, and it's worked out so nicely for everybody. So
it's beautiful.
And it's just really, really happy for all of them.
Yeah, that's great. Good casting. It's just one of those films that comes together brilliantly, and it takes, a great production team and a director like you to make that happen. Just, you talked about the first scene that you shot, and I love, people. By the way, Squaddies, I know a lot of you know this, but a film isn't necessarily shot in chronological order. So you shoot that first scene, pretty heavy scene, and I wanted to get into a little bit about why this theme, and also it's so hard to marry such a serious theme with comedy, and you did it so flawlessly throughout. It didn't kind of have a dip. It was very consistent. Why the theme first and then weaving it together with humor?
So again, there's an Australian connection, interestingly. I was inspired by an article that I read about, I think it's called The Gap. It's a suicide hotspot in Sydney, where this lovely man who has since passed, Don Ritchie, used to live, who was this kind man who lived near a spot like that. And he saved hundreds of lives by inviting people in for tea and, kind of talking them away from the ledge. And I guess maybe I have a dark sense of humor, but I thought, what would that be like if there was a misanthrope, living in a spot like that, who didn't want to deal with people, who didn't want to be involved in community and so on. And for me, it's not supposed to be dark or morbid. It is an extreme element to have in a romantic comedy, but it's a way of showing the theme of human connection, which especially after things like the pandemic, I thought was very, very relevant. And it was just kind of the most effective way to show this man on how, by connecting with others, he connects with himself and he finds his humanity again. And it's that idea of, in saving others, we save ourselves. And that was just kind of the theme that I wanted to weave in there. I think just because it's a romantic comedy, it doesn't mean that you can't look at heavier themes, where there's life or death or family. And I think that's also very relevant to the sort of the Cypriot culture also. I mean, the the running sort of gag of the yaya she's ready to move on, she's ready to pass away.
Yeah.
I remember that was something my own grandmother had, who she didn't fear death at all. She was like, well, when it comes, it comes. She accepted it was a part of life. And there are many yayadas who even prepare these suitcases for their funeral, which again could be very morbid, but it's just them being really practical and realistic about life and death.
Yeah.
And I love that, and I just wanted to weave those very sort of cultural elements into the film, and that we shouldn't be afraid to look at or talk about, because they're real and they're a part of life, as is love and humor. So
Yeah.
I'm glad it worked. Yeah, I definitely had a panic in the beginning. I was like, why did I think this would be good for a rom-com? But I think it worked.
Yeah, there's a little it's kind of, there has a little Nora Ephron-esque element to it.
Oh, that's a huge compliment. Thank you.
Yeah, she's one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah.
And you're right about kind of opening that dialogue, because it's so difficult. And sometimes I don't know about everyone else's culture, and they'll let me know in the YouTube comments, but definitely Greeks, there's this, it's kind of like this 24/7, and sometimes it's hard to talk about these things, but you bring it, and older people are more pragmatic, I think. So the Yaya character, the way she kind of ties in the theme with her own, mortality. I think that was really, really well done. Yeah.
Thank you.
I've got to ask you about, before we let you go, a few more questions here before we let you go. And one of the things is, and I'll have you answer this, because if there's one thing I've read online from fans, they love the movie. They think it's amazing, the way that you project the culture. They loved how there was Cypriot dialogue in it, the music, everything. And they were like, I wish they'd shown just a little bit more of Cyprus. I love how you didn't make it totally like a old Cyprus Airways ad, where you've got the Bedra Romeo, Aphrodite's Rock, and the Blue Lagoon, and all of these things. I love the simplicity, because I think it matched the theme. It wasn't too big and it wasn't too small, and also it's not cheap to have multiple locations. But how did you decide all of that?
Again, thank you for that and for picking up on that. I mean, it was never supposed to be a tourism ad, obviously. And I do think actually the best way to show off a place is kind of organically and subtly. And a location or a country like Cyprus is shown off not only through its beautiful locations, but through its people and its food and the music. And I think every little thing that I could add is what promoted or kind of showed off the island. And again, that wasn't the intention. The intention was to tell a story that had a local flavor to it. And I think that's a lot more appealing to people, or you can connect a lot more to that, rather than seeing, tons of beauty shots. Like you said, you can just go to, a tourism ad for that. I think audiences can feel when you're kind of manipulating them in that way. This was really just, we wanted to keep as authentic as possible and show just, and there were a few scenes that were cut, which we'll maybe make into a future movie, but like things like people watching TV from outside their houses, in the summer when it's too hot, and like not every scene made it in, but little touches like that that says Cyprus to me,
Yeah.
Yeah,
totally. I agree. I totally agree with that. And the sound of like the moped and all of that, that's the crickets, quintessentially Cyprus. The house, a little bit like when people found out that the house in the Christmas comedy with Cameron Diaz and Kate Winslet. The Holiday. When they found out that was built for the movie, it was like, oh, what are you talking about? Did you build that for the film, or was that something you found?
Yeah. It was a huge, first of all, to find a beautiful cliff over the water like that means it's usually an environmentally protected area. So there are no buildings on such places. And it was also, we had to really negotiate and work very closely with, the various departments, environment departments there, to make sure that we were respectful of the area. So we couldn't build there for very long. So we had to build the house in a factory in another place, like in Paphos, and then bring it over to the cliff, like place it like a sort of a prefab, but it was a proper house. It's something you could actually live in, the plumbing and the electrics are all there. And then as soon as we were done with the shoot, we had to remove it as if it never existed.
Wow.
Because we have the beach underneath that cliff is one of the sort of spots where the turtles come to lay their eggs. So we had to be gone before the turtles arrived. So which we were, but it was it was a little bit of a time crunch to get everything done and be out of there, in time.
Wow, that's amazing. Was it really difficult to see it torn down? Was that kind of like?
So it hasn't. It wasn't torn down because it's one of these prefab houses. It literally just picked up as it is. It's sitting in a warehouse at the moment. It's actually for sale if anybody wants to buy it.
Wow.
So, yeah, if I had a plot of land, I would have grabbed it myself. But yeah, it's there because there were a few offers, but it's there and probably a little bit more valuable now. I guess the film is doing so well.
Well, the other question fan forums are asking, and maybe don't sell it yet, is there going to be a sequel? Is that something you've thought of, or do you just want it to like sit and let be and just wonder what happened to the characters?
It's super tempting, and we definitely toyed around with some ideas for a sequel. And we spoke a little bit, to some of our key players about it. I think for now it's going to stay as it is. I don't know if the demand grows or if anything changes in the near future, but for now it's standalone. It's just this.
Okay. Well, just so you know, they're already asking. So
I know. It's tempting. We've all been thinking about it as well, and we're just kind of trying to keep our wits about us now in all the excitement. Yeah.
Okay. I've got a couple of quick fire ones for you because our listeners are going to want to know your favorite film of all time.
The Godfather.
It's so good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like as a filmmaker, do you watch that and think it's perfection? It's actually filmmaking perfection.
Completely. And then I just want to, and then I'm like, I'm just, not worthy. I cannot, on the one hand, you want to do something as great as that, and then you feel like you'll never be able to. It's just that brilliant. Yeah. I love it. I love it. Inspired.
I love that you said that because I just literally watched 1, 2, and 3. And I enjoyed 3 more than I did the first time around because I just kind of tried to get the Sophia Coppola performance out of my mind, although she went on and has gone on to be a great filmmaker as well.
Yes.
Your favorite director then? I don't know if it's Francis, but your favorite director ever?
Yeah, I know. Oh, there are so many. By default, it sort of becomes him. I'll say, well, another Italian director that I love and who inspires a lot of my tone in my films is Giuseppe Tornatore, who did Cinema Paradiso and Malena. I love his style and his storytelling. So I definitely have a thing, I guess, for the Italians. But I love that nostalgic, romantic feel. I think that definitely influences my films.
Very cool. If you could you just cast a great movie. If you could work with any actor or actress, which would you choose? Like if you think
many.
I'd like to work with them.
Well, I guess now that I'm in rom-com mode, I will. Julia Roberts. It's just like what a legend. If I was gonna, there's so many, but now that we're in rom-com mode, I would love to do something with her.
Very cool. And the current series you're watching on Netflix, like what's caught your eye, or what are you binge watching, or or any show?
Yeah. I haven't seen anything in a while. I haven't. It's been a crazy few weeks. What's the most recent thing I saw? The Bear. I haven't seen the new series yet. I saw up to the end of season 2, and it was great. It took me a while to sort of kind of get into it, but I thought it came together in a really spectacular way.
Yeah. But I just watched Presumed Innocent, which was interesting, and but I like I like a lot of the documentaries on Netflix too. They do some really good documentaries and always have something to offer. And what I love about Netflix, and this isn't an ad, by the way, I'm just letting you know, I don't know why, but you can just watch the whole thing. Like the streaming system has gone a little, I'll give you 1 or 2 episodes. I'm going to add some ads here and there. But I love how it's like, here's the new season of Fauda, and there you go. Just enjoy the whole thing. So Okay, what are you working on next, and what can people expect from you?
So I'm actually in full pre-production at the moment. So normally, like I said, I'm Miss Rom-Com and feel good, but the next one is a passion project called Apart From Her, and it's set in the 70s between Cyprus and South Africa, inspired by stories of my parents, the generation that left Cyprus during the war for South Africa, essentially leaving, one divided place for another, because South Africa was in the middle of the apartheid regime. So it's a little more serious, but there's a love story again, and it's a really, I think, unique way to look at themes of identity and prejudice, and there's still a certain beauty to it. And we start shooting in November in Cyprus. So it's a really challenging story to tell, but I'm really excited. And so that's going to be the next one. And we see where it goes. No, we don't have distribution yet, but we'll definitely keep people posted.
Amazing. Are you shooting across the island or in a particular town?
With this one, we're shooting mostly in and around Nicosia. It's kind of like the film hub of the island. And it's a lot more intimate. It's a lot more interiors. We have some flashbacks to 1974, but it's definitely a very different approach to that story, and we try to be very balanced with it as well. So I'm quite excited.
Very cool
to share. Yeah,
I'm very excited about that, and I'm excited that you're bringing something that is very significant to Cyprus and our history to the screen, and also looking at it from both sides, different sides.
Definitely.
So I'm really excited, and maybe if I'm on the island, I'll come visit you guys on set.
Oh, please
say
do.
Hello. Yeah, that would be amazing. This has been amazing. I've really, is there something I haven't asked you about the film that you want our listeners to know?
Gosh,
anything I've missed, or just kind of we always give our guests the opportunity to kind of have the last word and wrap it up for us.
Oh, wow. Thank you. I will. I mean, this is more of I always have to say, this film, the key players to getting the film done was, Jupiter Peak Productions from the US, the Cypriot government, the Cypriot Deputy Ministry of Culture funded the film from script stage, and the Film Commission, which has this amazing cash rebate in Cyprus and is bringing in lots of work. That's a big thing. And just the thing I really want to just say is a giant thank you to every single audience member who has watched the film and shared it and promoted it. I mean, the reason we're sitting on a number one spot is because of you. And it's made this was a really, really tough film to make, like a lot of heart, a lot of love, but this has made it all worth it. So thank you so much. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Beautifully summarized. Stelana, thank you so much for joining us here on Highbury Squad and our new show, Showbiz Squad. It means a lot to us, and I know our listeners are going to love hearing from you. And if you haven't seen Find Me Falling, please do so. If you've been living under a rock, it is on Netflix. You can stream now, and it's one of those films where you'll watch and rewind and watch again. And you can follow Stelana here on Instagram as well. So please do give her a follow. Follow the show, like and subscribe as well. It helps our community. All right, Squaddies, that's it. That's all I've got time for today. Until then, don't forget the rule. Tell your loved ones you love them. And at ease, everyone, at ease.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.